welcome to another episode of the Good Hearted Podcast. Before I get going on this episode, it is storming outside and my child is home with my husband. So if you hear some of those noises, please just ignore them because I'm really excited for today's episode. So I'm doing this kind of to celebrate my 30th birthday. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've already seen the title of this episode, and that is 30 things that I've learned in 30 years on my self-love journey. I've seen lots of other people do this when they turn 30, sharing different advice and, learned lessons that they've had in their past 30 years. And so I just wanted to relate mine to my self-love journey, my mental health, just all of those things that I like talking about in this podcast about embracing who you truly are and living as that person boldly and unapologetically. So I think I'm going to break this into two parts because I was thinking I would just like list all of the things off and then move on. But I like to talk. And so I feel like it's going to be hard for me to just list off something and not touch on my experience with that point. So I hope that you enjoyed this part and the next part. I'm hoping that these can be like little bite-sized things for you to take away and maybe think on yourself. I hope you can relate to some of them. Some of them were really hard lessons to learn. Other things have been like truly freeing to be able to practice and embrace. And so thank you for celebrating my 30th birthday with me by listening to this episode. I can't believe I'm about to be 30, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, thank God it's here because my 20s have been rough. And so who knows what my 30s will look like. I am hoping that since I've done so much of the hard inner work these last couple years in my 20s, that my 30s will be hard in a different way. Like I know life is always going to be challenging and throwing things at me that I don't see coming, but I feel like I am better prepared for life now because of all of these changes that I've made and things that I've learned on, my self-love journey and just learning more about mental health and learning more about who I am as a person and what I need to fill my own cup and to serve other people and what makes me truly happy in life. And I do feel like that's kind of what your 20s is about, is kind of going crazy or just learning more about you and figuring your shit out, which is really hard to do. That's what can make 20s so difficult and so exhausting. It also makes for great stories because you're likely to mess up along the way. And all of those things are just stepping stones to the person you are becoming. And so while I am very thankful for my 20s and I'm thankful I have lived to be 30, I am ready to be 30. So without further ado, let's get to the first 15 things on my list of the 30 things I've learned in 30 years on my self-love journey. So obviously, I have not actively been on a self-love journey for the past 30 years, but I have definitely learned all kinds of things throughout my childhood and adolescence that kind of molded my self-love journey and where I was a couple years ago when I really felt that need to get to know myself better and to embrace who I truly was versus the people-pleasing fake version of myself that I often was. So the first thing I've learned, or that I wrote down, because I kind of just sat down and brain dumped all of these things. I tried to leave certain ones towards closer to the end because I felt like they were more impactful or tremendous than some of these other ones. But anyway, the very first one on my list is it's better to give the people who mean the most to you your best instead of giving them what's left. This I definitely learned the hard way. I've talked about this in episodes before. When I was kind of in my early 20s and I was building a photography business, that came before everything. Now, sometimes it needed to come first because I was dealing with people's wedding days and I was trying to make income and I was trying to build a reputable business. And I wanted to like be available to people and I wanted my books to be filled because that meant I was bringing in extra money. But then I missed out on so much with my friends and with my family. And I couldn't hang out on the weekends with people. I couldn't sleep in. If I had a weekend off, I was like, I am not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. I did always try to take some money from what I made as a photographer to go on vacations and things like that. But still, I worked myself so hard and so much that my family, my friends got what was left. And that was usually not the best version of myself. It was the tired version of myself who had like no energy and didn't want to talk. And I didn't even really like talking about my business because I was like, I work all the time. Like, I don't want to talk to people about this. And so just everything was kind of off. And so now, thankfully, I have gotten my shit figured out and reprioritized things. And now my family comes first above everything else. And then friends, and then other things like the podcast and running errands and hobbies and things that I want to do. It's like nothing else is taking up all of my time like my business used to. And it's hard when you work full time or something that you spend like so much of your life doing that thing to then still put your friends and family first. But I do think it is so important. So the second thing on my list is setting healthy boundaries is critical to thrive in life, which I've talked about boundaries many times. It's one of the like most listened to episodes that I have of this podcast, which means people need to hear it. And even I need to be reminded sometimes that like my boundaries are real and they're valid and they are worth enforcing, because that is what makes me thrive and feel healthy when it comes to my mind and my body. And it's okay to set those boundaries. And it's critical to really sit down and think about what those boundaries need to be if you feel like this is a spot where you struggle. Because when you're not communicating your boundaries, then people might not know that they're totally like trampling you and walking all over you. Like, you have to set boundaries and you have to know and recognize what works for you in your life. And then you need to enforce those boundaries. The third thing I've learned is that self-discovery is important and necessary, and I am worth learning about. This was something that I kind of put off for a long time. I didn't want to get to know me better. And how sad does that sound? But I really had kind of a mask on in front of everybody. And trust me, I would switch those masks all the time. But when I had my business, I was just always trying to be something I wasn't. I did the same thing in front of friends and sometimes even family, especially like extended family or my in-laws. Like, I was just always trying to be the person that all of these other people needed me to be. And I think that was mostly because I was not confident in myself and who I was as a person. I didn't like me. So when I took the time to get to know myself a little bit better, then I could pay more attention to my needs, like my physical needs, my emotional and mental needs. And I just learned kind of things that I saw as flaws, why I was that way, how I could strengthen those things, or, just let that shit go. And instead of like hyper focusing on all the things that I thought was weird about me or that I did wrong or whatever it was. And I began to really admire some things about myself when I was able to take personality tests and do an astrology reading and things like that. That was like highlighting my strengths and the things that I did really well. And then I was just kind of able to like latch on to those things and have pride in that, because I was like, I am this way for a reason. Some people need me to be this way, who just genuinely want to be around the true version of myself. And once I got to know myself better, it's like I liked myself enough to let other people get to know that version of me. But this is something that I'm definitely having to work on again, because as a new mom, I'm sure I've talked about this in other episodes before, but I have struggled knowing who I am now that I have been a mom for a couple years. And like, I just feel like I don't even know the girl that I was before I was a mom. And I just feel a little bit out of touch with what makes me happy, what my hobbies are. And so this is definitely something that I need to revisit and dig into again and kind of meet this new version of myself. But I'm more open to doing that this time because I've done it before. The fourth thing I've learned is that it's normal to have low energy days, and I've learned to not beat myself up over them anymore, because that just is not helpful. Like, I'm already not going to have a good, high energy, productive day. I don't need to beat myself up for it. I need to just listen to my body and be like, okay, there's something going on. Like, there's a reason that I am not feeling good, that I'm not into doing anything. And maybe that just means I need to slow down and I need to rest, which has really been helpful for me, like with my mental health, because I'm taking more time to acknowledge that and try to take care of myself. So low energy days are totally normal and necessary. Now, this next one I have on my list, like I just saw on Facebook. I'm not sure who posted it. I should have screenshotted it or wrote it down or something. But it was a post that said, "Stop giving do overs to people who treat you like leftovers." Let that sink in for a second. And honestly, I'm not even going to touch on that anymore. I'm sure you maybe felt a tug or thought of somebody instantly. And so I'm going to just let you sit with that. Sorry. Okay, so the sixth thing I've learned is to not open social media apps when I am feeling down because it just amplifies that feeling. It just makes me feel more like shit, even if like I have, really narrowed down who I'm following on social media. It never fails. When I am having a rough day and I am just like not happy in general, I will find something on Instagram that is like a personal attack on me. Although I don't even know this person who's posted the thing, like maybe what they're posting about doesn't even directly relate to me, but I will somehow like make that about me, which is probably something that I need to work on, but I just avoid it for that day. Like I have no desire to open social media apps anymore unless I am like totally chill and relaxed and like don't have anything on my mind. Other than TikTok, I do see TikTok as kind of a source of entertainment. Same for YouTube. But when it comes to Facebook and Instagram, I just stay off of them, especially on those days where I'm just not feeling too good. The seventh thing I've learned is that it's okay to have boundaries that make other people feel uncomfortable. And I really don't like this one. Like, this is something that I still have to remind myself of, that it is okay to protect my boundaries and to have ones that kind of piss other people off, or, they just don't like it, because for so long I have been that people pleaser who did everything for everyone and showed up to every event and, coordinated things and brought things and bought things. And like, it just has to stop at some point. And I know that I'm going to make somebody unhappy, but the alternative is me not being happy, and I'm just not willing to sacrifice that anymore. So it's okay to have boundaries that make other people feel uncomfortable. It's not like I'm directly trying to make them mad. If they just happen to get mad because of my boundary, I feel like that's on them. Okay, this next one was also a very hard lesson, or has been a hard lesson for me to learn. So the eighth thing I've learned is that I don't have to know everything to see myself as smart. For most of my life, I have really worked diligently to make other people think I was smart, or to appear smart to other people, to just act like I knew what everybody was talking about all the time, and to only speak about things that like I really, really knew about, because I was afraid of looking like an idiot. And I just wanted to appear as smart. I really struggled with reading until I was in third grade, and my third grade teacher really worked with me. And so I feel like that has always been like a huge insecurity for me, just always feeling behind in school, studying and testing and all of that did not come naturally to me. So that has carried throughout my adult life, with like just trying to carry on a conversation that I don't know anything about, or acting like I'm smarter than I am, or like I have my shit together more than I do. And I think that's something that Geminis truly struggle with too, is like we enjoy learning, we like to know things. And so then when somebody's talking about something I know nothing about, it makes me feel about this tall, and I just want to crawl under a blanket or leave the situation, because I don't want to appear unintelligent, because I know that I am smart and intelligent in areas that matter to me, but there's no way for me to know all of the things. There's no way. I am not a genius, or like that stuff does not come naturally to me. So what matters is that the things that I care about, I know really well. And I am finally okay with that, and okay with saying, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Because literally so many times somebody has brought up a celebrity, or, some other pop culture reference, or some kind of smart people thing, I don't know. And they'll be like, you know what I'm talking about? I'm like, yeah. And then I just tried to like coast through the rest of the conversation. But now I'm much, much better at saying, no, I don't. Can you tell me more about that? Which is totally fine and normal. And if this person is talking to you about that thing anyway, then they obviously want to talk about it more. So there's nothing wrong with admitting that you don't know everything about, a certain subject. But again, that was a hard one for me to learn. And I still catch myself sometimes kind of like doing those white lies where I'm just like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then I'm like, damn it, why did I say that? Because now they're going to ask me questions. I'm going to have to backpedal and be like, oh, I thought you meant this thing. And, it's this whole thing. It's easier to just say, no, tell me more. That's all you got to do. The ninth thing I've learned is that not everyone is willing to give me what I happily give to them, and it doesn't diminish my worth. That second part was a way harder lesson to learn. I learned pretty early in life that I was kind of drawn to people, as far as friends go, that needed me, needed my attention, needed my help, needed a ride, needed somebody to hang out with on a Friday night. And I kind of realized that for a lot of those people, if they had somebody else to hang out with or something else to do, they would usually choose that thing over me. And for a long time, it was really hard for me to, one, admit that I knew these people were doing that, and then not immediately think, oh, what's wrong with me? Why don't they want to spend time with me? Why don't they want to hang out? Why am I always the second choice? And so for a long time, I struggled with my self-worth and my identity because I realized that a lot of the people I was surrounding myself with, like I was a much better friend to them than they were to me. And all relationships go two ways, but sometimes takers just don't know when to stop. And as a giver, I just kept giving things. And I wanted those friends and those family members, to be happy and to be taken care of, and felt like they had all of my attention. And it just isn't worth it at a certain point. And it also taught me to not expect things from certain people, which has made me happier overall because I'm not waiting for them to let me down like I used to be. It's like if they don't reach out to me first or ask me to do something or, want to check in on me or hang out for my birthday or whatever it is, like I expect that now. And I don't have to be mad at them for it either. I can just be grown enough to understand that our relationship and friendship is different than it used to be, and that they aren't going to be the type of friend that I need, even though I can be the friend that they need. That was kind of a long tangent and a lot of thoughts and probably points that I'm going to touch on later. But that one's been hard. That one's been really hard. Having friends in your 20s and moving into your 30s is hard. Like making new friends is hard. Staying friends with old friends is hard. Like it's all difficult because you all have your own lives and your own things going on. And like I am a mom now. And so the dynamic with my friendships have changed drastically. And I just have to be okay with that in this season of life and to know that some friends are just going to naturally fall away. And this happened more like in my early mid 20s, but yeah, when you become a mom, the dynamics with your friends definitely changes. And I don't think that's a secret. I think any of my friends would admit that like I am kind of in the trenches of motherhood right now and I'm exhausted, to be honest. Like I have like no energy. And again, since I've reprioritized and I put my baby and my husband first, like sometimes that's all I have to give and I don't have anything to give to anybody else. And that's okay. It's just a season. And I hope that I can still hang on to some of these relationships, but I also get it if, it doesn't, because anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. Okay, on to the next one. So the 10th thing I've learned is that you should celebrate your accomplishments, even the smallest ones. I, for years, have just brushed off whatever goal I had, whatever thing I achieved. Even when I got my pictures published in magazines, I was just like, oh, it's just no big deal. On to the next one, on to shooting the next wedding, trying to get the next publishing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just always what's next. Nothing ever feels like enough. So we have tried, Dylan and I both, to celebrate even little wins or just to celebrate making it through another week. Like just trying to make a bigger deal out of certain things because, like leaving a job, starting a new career, becoming a plant mom, like literally anything you can celebrate and you should celebrate with a drink that you enjoy, going out to dinner with some friends. Like you should pat yourself on the back and celebrate every single one of those accomplishments. The 11th thing I've learned is that I make the rules when it comes to what I believe in. I kind of forgot this one was on the list. Took me by surprise. So yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory, I think. I have learned that the religious path maybe isn't what's for me. Maybe the more spiritual path is what would be a better fit for me because it has really helped me become more in tune with who I am and how I see the world, to be totally honest, when it comes to meditating and doing my tarot readings and stuff. Like it gives me insight into who I am, what I'm needing, what I believe in. And at the end of the day, who cares? What you believe in, what I believe in, like you make the rules. You can take things from all kinds of different religions and spiritual practices and worldly things and mold your own beliefs and values and all of those things. So don't be afraid to do that. It took me a long, 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 long time to be able to, like most of my, from my mid to like my late 20, up until now, basically, I have been working on those things and kind of just finding out where my beliefs and my values lie. And a lot of those I take from my Christian upbringing, but I also have taken a lot from other communities and just other people that I've learned from. And like I said, just being more in touch with like my spiritual side has been super helpful for me. Number 12. This one sounds a little aggressive, but we'll just go with it. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. Fuck what anyone else thinks. But seriously, don't worry about it. Like, you just have to let it go. You can't control what everybody else thinks about you. And honestly, if they're thinking about you, like, they need a hobby or something else to do. Like, everyone should just be concerned with themselves and how they're living their own lives and trying to be happy. So, the 13th thing I've learned is that I need to listen to my mind and my body because they are probably trying to tell me something, especially on like those low energy days, or if I'm feeling super stressed out and overwhelmed, like there is something going on and I need to sometimes just be quiet and still and listen. Like I listen to all kinds of other things all day: music, podcasts, YouTube videos, cartoons, my husband, my child. But how often do I really take a second to listen to me and what I'm needing and what I'm craving? It is essential to do that. And it has made me feel so much better by just allowing myself to be in tune with my mind and my body, because for so long I have ignored, the body aches that I had and the buzzing going on in my head or the voices in my head and like all of the overwhelming, anxious, stressful feelings. But sometimes you really need to just slow down and acknowledge those things and kind of tend to them. The 14th thing I've learned is that your worth is not determined by your productivity. Even a couple days ago, I was helping my friend paint at her house and I was going around saying, "Oh my God, I feel like I've got nothing done. I'm so sorry. Like, I feel like I've done nothing to help you." And she was like, "Why do we do that? Why do we always have to apologize and always have to be like, super productive or see big results?" And really, that just got me thinking. I was like, you're right. You're right. So that was something I was kind of convicted about. And I was like, damn, why did I do that? I'm usually much better these days about apologizing and trying not to apologize for everything, partially because I don't want to be that person anymore, and partially because I don't want Harper to be that kind of person who just apologizes for everything. But I think our society has just really made us feel like we have to be busy and overwhelmed and productive in order to feel accomplished and to feel worthy of rest and things like that. So that's definitely something I've struggled with. And I still have days where I'm like, man, we were so lazy today. I didn't get anything done. I didn't get dishes done. And part of it seems like my to-do list just gets very overwhelming. Other times I'm worried that Dylan's going to come home and be like, "What the hell did you do today? You did nothing." And I am very lucky and thankful that I don't have a partner like that. But that doesn't mean that I don't treat myself that way, or I still wait for his reaction to be something like that. Because I do feel like a lot of people in society and social media kind of talk shit about stay-at-home moms, and they're like, the food should be cooked, the house should be clean. But, at the same time, have they been with a toddler tornado anytime recently? So that's definitely something that I still struggle with to this day. I struggled with it when I owned a business, when I worked full time, of just like, there's never enough time. I'm never getting everything that I need to get done. And I didn't feel like I was worthy of resting or slowing down until I had been extremely productive. Okay, and so I'm going to do the 15th one now to kind of round out this episode because it's pretty long already, as I suspected. So the 15th thing that I've learned is that it's okay to unlearn things and put your life on a new path. Since the pandemic and everything that's been going on, I feel like a lot of us are unlearning things. And as we're having our own children or nieces and nephews and being teachers and just trying to like raise that next generation, we're trying to unlearn the toxic things that our society taught us as children and adolescents and trying to put things on a new trajectory. That's at least what I'm trying to do. And it's never too late to do that. For me, I really decided to make the change when I decided I wanted to be a mom because I didn't want my kids to go through the same sort of pressure and expectations that I had as a kid from like, society and school and social pressures, just like all of that. And so it's okay for me to unlearn things, learn new things, and choose to tweak my life a little bit. Like it's not linear. Life is a journey, and you should constantly be learning and trying to better your life and your situation. And it's okay to make changes. You might upset some people, you might rub them the wrong way, but at the end of the day, it's your life and you are the one living it. You only have one. So you might as well do what you want to do instead of trying to be fake and fit into a mold that somebody else wants you to be. So that's basically it for the first half of the 30 things that I've learned in the past 30 years about self-love. And really it comes down to allowing yourself to be selfish, to learn more about yourself, to make boundaries that will truly protect you in your mental state and your family, and not being afraid to protect those boundaries. Keep certain people at arm's reach, like don't let people constantly drain your energy when they are not attempting to help you kind of refuel. And it's a lot about learning about yourself, learning about the people around you, and what you can change, what you can prioritize to make your life a healthier situation for you and possibly even safer. Because even if you're not being physically abused or something like that, you can still be emotionally and mentally bruised by people. And sometimes all you can do is take a step back and focus on you and what you can do to make your situation better. So to end on a kind of funny note, I wanted to throw in a bonus thing that I've learned in this episode. And that is fuck everything that resembles a pyramid scheme. I couldn't tell you how many of those I fell for in my 20s, but I'll be damned if I do it in my 30s. Some of them look so nice and shiny and not really like a pyramid scheme, and then they are, and you're screwed. So pyramid schemes, in my opinion, suck. And I definitely fell victim to quite a few of them, and they did their job. They were targeting broke people who needed to make a quick buck, and I fell for it a couple different times, more than I would like to admit. And then I ended up being kind of in the hole, being in debt, owing money that I didn't have, like then feeling like I had to bring friends and family into it. And it was just a mess. So because I love myself, I will never let myself fall for something like that again. And if I even get close to it, somebody smack me, please, because I just don't need that in my life anymore, ever again. So anyway, on that note, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I am excited to get into the other 15 things on my list of 30 things I've learned in 30 years about self-love, on my self-love journey, all those good things. So thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like it and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one.